Good evening to everyone.
Amen.
Okay.
Evening.
Good evening.
Today is Wednesday, the 7th of December, 2022. We're going to have a lesson on the eight laws of health. The eight laws of health. There are a lot of names given to this lesson. Others they call them eight doctors. Others they call them nature's law. Others they call them natural remedies. Okay, but it is the same thing. We are referring to the same thing, the 8 laws of health. Introduction to this lesson. 3 John verse 2, we see John telling us, saying that is God actually speaking here. He says, "Beloved, I wish above all things that thou mayst prosper and be in health as thy soul prospereth." So we see that God wishes all of us to be in good health, and that we may prosper, not only in health wise, but also in our physical being and also in our soul. We should prosper. So all the body wise, all the both body and soul, God wishes us to prosper. Okay. So we see how generous God is and how loving He is, and that we cannot worship Him if we sick, because we cannot even glorify His name if we are sick, because we are sick, of course. So He wants us to worship Him, and in the worship of Him, and He wishes us to be in good health. And good health is, of course, equivalent to salvation. God is the one who gives you salvation, or who gives you health. That's what we see. With this, we shall kneel down and pray. We are praying. Our Father, which art in heaven, since you created us, and after you created us, you said it was very good. And the very good you referred, it was because you saw us fit to be the way we were. And the disease is anything outside the normal. And if we come back to the normal, meaning it is the absence of disease, that is good health. So may you help us, O Lord, to live according to your standards. May we embrace your mind, as Philippians say, so that let the mind which was in Christ be in us, each one of us, so that we may be in good health, and so that we might prosper. As we shall continue to have this lesson, O Lord, may you continue to agitate so that we understand and embrace your laws. We are looking at the 8 laws. In the name of Jesus, we do pray, thanksgiving in our hearts. Amen. So the 8 laws are the laws that most of the people have forgotten about. But since these laws, it does not need a lesson for you to know them, because God decided to put these laws in nature. They are called nature's law. Examples of this law is like a person trying to climb a pole or a tower, then wants to throw himself, or he expects to walk in the air. Then the law of gravity pulls him and he hits the ground, then he dies. Or if some case he survives, he does not die, then the people ask him saying, why were you trying to do so? Why were you trying to commit suicide? Then he explains saying, I wanted to walk in the air. I wanted to violate the laws of health. So the laws of health, if you try to violate them and expect to live, that's impossible. Okay, these laws of health, God inscribed them in nature. And one of the quotations by counsel says, idiots will not be responsible to account or to pay attention to the laws of health. There are a lot of them, there are about 8. Okay, so meaning that we're going to look at them one by one. One time I was talking to someone, I was explaining to him saying God gave us 3 laws. First law, it is the law that is pertaining to himself, saying you should love God with all your might, all your strength, your soul and heart. There are 4 aspects or 4 things involved in the law involving the first law. Okay, that is the greatest law. Might, heart, strength, and soul. Okay, even mind. But the other law, the second greatest commandment, it says you should love your neighbor as you love yourself. Then the third one, the third law, is to respect nature, or is to follow the 8 laws. So that person said, no, if you say respect or the laws of health, it means you're worshiping nature. No, that does not mean so. Okay, because God tells you, saying that if you disrespect the laws of nature, it is the same as disregarding the 2 commandments that I've earlier mentioned, to respect God and also respect man if you don't respect the laws of health. So the laws of health, they are as important as the Decalogue or the 10 Commandments. So we have to pay attention to be attentive to them, to pay particular attention to them. So then let us follow. It says, for growing health, follow your designer's handbook, that is the Bible. Because the Bible, it is a book, a textbook that shows us how we were created. No matter where you might go, you can go in whichever book. The only book that explains thoroughly on how man was created is the Bible. Science has failed to explain how man was created. The Bible is the only textbook that has tried or has explained thoroughly how man was created. In Genesis chapter 1, verse 29, it says, and God said, behold, I have given you every herb bearing seed, which is upon the face of all the earth, and every tree in the which is the fruit of a tree yielding seed, to you it shall be for meat. This word meat, it is not flesh. It is not flesh food. For this word meat, it means food. It says the food or the meat, which the Bible calls meat, it is every herb bearing seed, and every tree in which is the fruit of the tree yielding seed. It is what the Bible terms meat or food. Today, the world have started calling flesh as meat. In short, they are calling it as food, the real food. But the Bible calls meat what you call plant-based food. The whole food, the Bible calls it meat. The Bible, it does not call what you call flesh as meat or as food. It is when men started calling meat, that is flesh food, as meat. That's when now we began to adopt the word meat to call flesh food, or the flesh of dead animals to call it meat. So we see in Genesis chapter 1 verse 29, we see grains in it. We see grains, we see fruits, and we see nuts. Because in the fruits, in the tree, we see a tree giving what you call the nuts, the seeds. Then we see also a tree giving what you call a fruit. And we see a hair-bearing seed like corn or maize giving what you call grains. So there are three articles of food here, meaning grain, fruits, and nuts. That's what we see. It is the diet given us by God. Then Genesis chapter 3 verse 18, we see that after sin entered, what happened? It says, God said, and thou shalt eat the herb of the field. Then God decided to give man another extra diet, and that extra article of food introduced, it was not meat. After man sinned, it was vegetation, it was vegetable, it was a herb of the field, it was vegetable. But before sin entered, God gave man grains, fruits, and nuts. But after sin entered, God decided to introduce vegetation or vegetables to the diet of man. That's what we see here. He never introduced what you call flesh food until after the flood. So it says, for I know the thoughts that I think toward you, says the Lord, thoughts of peace and not of evil, to give you a future and a hope. So the Lord, the reason to why he did that, because he has good plans for us, good thoughts for us. That's what we see from here. This is Jeremiah chapter 29 verse 11. So now, what is the definition of what? Of disease according to counsel? Because the handbook, the designer's handbook, is the Bible. And the Bible tells us what, it should tell us what disease is. And also counsel, that is the testimonies for the church, or the spirit of prophecy as projected in Revelation chapter 19. Okay, it should tell us what the definition of disease is. The World Health Organization, they tried to give us the definition of disease, but they failed. They failed to give us the definition, the complete definition of disease. But what does counsel give as a definition of disease? Most of us, we do not pay attention to what counsel tells us, how it defines disease. It says, disease is an effort of nature to free the system from the conditions So if disease is an effort of nature, what does it mean? So meaning that disease is not a problem. That's what it says. For it tells you saying it is an effort of nature to free the system from the conditions that result or that resulted from a violation of the laws of health. So what is the problem here? The problem, it is the violation that we did. To violate what? The laws of what? Of nature. The 8 laws. Okay, so if we violate the laws of our being, the 8 laws of health, we are going to have what? We're going to create disease. Nature is going to do its effort to be helping us, to be reminding us of the infliction that we keep on inflicting the nature. Okay, that's what it is. So disease is a reminder of how bad we are living, how bad we are violating the laws of our being. So God decided to put what we call the effort, that is disease, the effort of nature, to free the system. So example given is, for instance, there are people, especially people, when what do you call, they have issues, they don't go to the loo, they eat, and they have what you call constipation. There's a time when the body flushes it out, and they have what you call diarrhea. A person will not tolerate the flushing out for a long period of time, or a day. They will not tolerate that. They'll take something to stop the diarrhea, but yet they were not flushing, or they are not going to the loo according to the laws of nature. Because the laws of nature are, if you eat 3 times a day, you have to take 18 to 24 hours for you to visit the loo. So meaning that if you eat at 7, you have to go at 7. Okay, the following day. If you eat at noon, you have to go at noon the following day. Then if you eat in the evening, 18, you have to eat to go to the loo in the evening at 18. But if you don't go 3 times and you eat 3 times a day, it means you have constipation. And the laws of nature is going to remind you to go to the loo. It's going to trigger what you call, the effort of nature is going to trigger what you call diarrhea, and you begin to flush. And when you begin to flush, those who are ignorant of the laws of nature, they're going to what? To close the diarrhea. They're going to close it out. So you've closed the effort of nature. Of course, there are factors. If there's mucus, meaning there's infection, you have to check there are factors to it. Okay. But oftentimes, those who are knowledgeable, they'll wait for you to go to the loo for 3 days. And if it persists, then that's when they can close out the diarrhea. But oftentimes, it is the effort of nature. And you close it out, then the body is going to try to eliminate it through the skin. You have what you call pimples. Okay. Then a lot of pimples are going to come. So that is a signal, a sign that you are violating the laws of health. Sometimes it may not trigger that. It can also manifest in form of a flu. That's the reason most of the people who have flus or mucus production, they tell them to what you call to flush their system. After they flush their system, we see the flu. The flu is going to disappear, or mucus production is going to go. It's because how the laws or the effort of nature God has put to be reminding us. It's like an alarm to us. Every time The effort of nature keeps on reminding us. Okay, but we've worked hard enough to stop this effort of nature to remind us of our own injurious, bad habit and lifestyle. We've stopped that. And once we stop this, then that's the reason we see people fall down. They fall and die. That's what we see. We see a lot of people fall and die, and we do not know the cause. Why? Because they stopped the nature to remind them of the disease. Sorry, to remind them of their injurious lifestyle. They stopped. They prevented it using what you call drugs, okay, to alter the system. So it says, the violation of the laws of health, in case of sickness, the cause should be ascertained. So every time when we fall sick, we should make sure that we ascertain the cause. If we do not ascertain the cause, then we'll be what you call treating symptoms. Okay, it says unhealthful conditions should be changed. So if we do not change the unhealthful condition, then disease will continue. Then you are going to take medication for a lifetime, because unhealthful conditions are not changed. It says wrong habits must be corrected. If wrong habits are not corrected, then the condition is going to what? To persist. That's what it means. Then it says, then nature is to be assisted. You have to understand this point. Nature, what we do is to simply assist nature. So there's no physician. You have to understand this. These are 8 laws. The 8 laws, these are the ones which we can term them physicians or doctors. Then the great physician is Jesus Christ, is God. Then human beings are simply what? They're simply there to assist. Okay. We simply assist nature in her effort, not our effort, in her effort to expel impurities and to re-establish right conditions in the system. It is the effort of nature. That's the thing you have to understand. Most of the people, they are trained to think that it is a drug that has a power, or a herb that has a power to do what? To heal. That is not true. That is outside the Bible. That is outside the laws of God. It is nature. It is the effort of nature, which God has put in the system. Okay. He has put it in what? In the environment, in the atmosphere, and also in the body, in the human machinery. He has put it. He has imbued it there. Okay. This is nature. So that's what we see. So we have to tell the people that the body knows how to take care of itself. We have to tell the people. For instance, if you go barefoot and you happen to walk yourself, okay, walk yourself on a stone, then you know that the body is going to do what? Is going to take care. First you feel pain. Pain is going to minimize. Eventually it's going to reduce. And eventually it's going to stop. If there was a wound there, the wound is going to be cured. The body is going to take care of itself. The body knows how to take care of itself. Then you keep on walking yourself on the same toe. The body can try to take care of the pain, to take care of the sore, but every time you continue to work there, the body, it will try its effort, but if you continue, the body is going to do what? To utilize all the remedial effort, and eventually it's going to do what? To tire, because of the cells are going to die. They're going to be weak, and eventually weaker ones. Okay. That's how people die. Okay. Because cells keep on dying, and they come, then the other ones that come is the weaker, until the weakest of them, then they come, then eventually people die. That's what happens. Okay, so we continue with this lesson. So then, what is this 8 laws? What are the 8 laws to remind us of what? Of the conditions. What are these? We have to understand them, because these are the ones that we have to pay particular attention to them, extra attention to them. Because if we do not pay particular attention to them, then there's no way will be expected of us to live in good health. There's no way. So it says, what is this? The first one, it says pure air. The second one is sunlight. The third one, it is abstemiousness. Abstemiousness is the other name of temperance. Then the fourth one, it is rest. This is the fifth one, it is rest. Then the seventh one, it is what? Let me count. This is the fourth one, abstemiousness. Then the fifth one, it is rest. Then the sixth one, it is exercise. Then the seventh one, it is proper diet. Okay, not just that, but proper diet. The diet given us of God. Then the eighth one, it is the use of water. No, the seventh one, it is the use of water. Then the last one, the eighth one, it is trust in divine power. That's what we see here. So we've seen a lot of people, they tell us saying, others they tell us saying, trust a gas plan as an acronym, or to use to come up with these 8 laws given us by God. Others they say a NEWSTART. Okay, these are simply acronyms to remind you, because we are slow to learn, ready to forget. That's the reason we come up with such acronyms to help us to remember. But in council, gave us the 8 laws. Whichever order you may put them, they are 8 laws, and we have to adhere to them. We have to follow them. Okay. These are the 8 laws. It says these are the true remedies, meaning they are false remedies. If it says these are the true remedies. Okay, so it says every person should have a knowledge of nature's remedial agencies and how to apply them. It is essential both to understand, actually you have to understand this, it says everyone. Everyone means everyone. Okay, even a child, everyone means everyone. Should have a knowledge of nature's remedial agencies and how to apply them. It is essential both. It is essential means important. It is important both to understand the principles involved. So you have to understand the principles involved in the treatment of what? Of the sick, and to have a practical training that will enable one rightly to use this knowledge. That's what council is telling us. So it says the use of natural remedies requires an amount of care. So it requires an amount of care and effort that many are not willing to give. So most of us are not willing to give this amount of care and effort. We are not. It says nature's process of healing and upbuilding is gradual. Gradual means it's slow. And to the impatient, it seems slow. So then if we are impatient, then we resort to what we call, we do not have faith. Most of us, we do not have faith. Council has told us saying, when we use the natural remedies, meaning that we follow the 8 laws, okay, God has put, then since it is gradual, we are going to say, no, this is slow. Then we're going to resort to something that is fast, oftentimes. Okay. Then it says, the surrender of hateful indulgences requires sacrifice. Since we worked harder enough to create disease, and if we are impatient, we are going to resort to something that is dangerous. So to the surrender of hateful indulgences require sacrifice. But in the end, it will be found that nature untrammeled does her work wisely and well. Okay, you see, the 8 laws, they do the work very well and wisely. That's what we see here. Then it continues, those who persevere in obedience. Look at perseverance. It is, what do you call? You do it and you continue doing it no matter how gradual it is until you achieve it. That is what perseverance is. So it says, those who persevere in obedience to her laws will reap the reward in health of body and health of mind. Ministry of Healing, page 127. That's what you see here. Okay, so this is counsel. We have to adhere to it. Then it says, poor health doesn't just happen. We have to know that. We create it. We make it to happen. Proverbs 26 verse 2 says, the bird by wandering as the swallow by flying, so the case causeless shall not come. Then Galatians chapter 6 verse 7 says, be not deceived. God is not mocked. For whatsoever a man soweth or created, that shall be what? Shall he also reap. That's what it happens. So whatever we do, we healed. Okay. That's what this means. It's like, come on. Okay. Exodus chapter 15, verse 26, it says, and said, if thou wilt diligently hearken, that is God telling, it says, diligently hearken to the voice of the Lord thy God, and wilt do that which is right in his sight, and wilt give ear to his commandments, and keep all his statutes, I will put none of these diseases upon thee, which I have brought upon the Egyptians. For I am the Lord that healeth thee. Sorry, that healeth thee. That's what it says. Okay, so it is the Lord that heals us. That's what this means. So if we diligently obey the voice of the Lord and keep his statutes, commandments, God, he promises us that he's going to heal our diseases. That's what he says. And is not going to bring other diseases on us. That's what this verse is saying. So what are these 8 laws that we're talking about? Okay, so then to use what we call NEWSTART acronym, or whichever order you would want, but we've decided to put them in this order: nutrition, exercise, water, sunshine, temperance, air, rest, trust in God or divine power. These are the 8 laws given us by God to follow. So it says, beloved, I wish above all things that thou mayst prosper and be in health as thy soul prospereth. We've read this verse. So we have, by adhering to this, we have to follow these 8 laws. Okay, that's what this verse means. So how do we know that this is God's only health plan? How do we know? How do we know? Well, any plan for health that God would have to fill or to fulfill these following specifications. Of course, it would have to have been available to all generations since creation. It has to be available. Number two, it could not be available only to people in the 20th century or only in developed it would be it is supposed to be available everywhere. Okay, it could not involve any high cost or any high risk or cost. It would have to be able to be done, okay, at all. It would have to be able to be understood by all, educated or not. Okay, they have to be able to understand. So this knowledge, it has to be understood by either low class or high class, illiterate or literate. That's what this means. It must be 100% organic. It has to be inexpensive, meaning that God has put or placed within our reach. We have to reach out that which God has put within our reach. It has to be inexpensive. It would cause absolutely no harm to what? To the human machinery. It would not require skilled personnel to administer. Okay. Then it says it would be available to everyone. That's what the factors of knowing how God's plan has provided to us the 8 laws. So the reason why God has placed the 8 laws is because he wants all these 8 laws, every man, whether poor or rich, literate or illiterate, to understand, to uphold. Because God wishes all of us to prosper and to be in good health, both in and soul. So there is no other plan out there that meets all these requirements. This is God's health program, and he throws it out to you as a live ring, okay, and grab it and be blessed. So you have to grab it and be blessed. So the first thing that is in here to be discussed is nutrition. So then, before I go to nutrition, any questions and contribution thus far I've reached? Questions and contribution? Okay. As you saw that there are 8 laws, so meaning that the first law to be discussed is nutrition. That was simply an introduction. So nutrition is the first law to discuss. So what is this nutrition? It's of course defined in Genesis chapter 1 verse 29. We looked at that. That's nutrition given us by God to us. And Genesis chapter 3, we saw chapter 3 verse 18, we saw how God decided to add herbs of the field or vegetation to the dirt after sin entered, after man sinned. So nutrition, the health dirt the healthy diet avoids all refined foods, use that is fruits, vegetables. So the fruits we saw is the diet given us by God. The vegetables, it was added, nuts and seeds, legumes and grains, as fresh and simple as possible. Fresh is best. Okay, so fresh foods are best. We know that. Because if dried foods or what you call cooked food, they denature some nutrients from what? From the food. So fresh is best. Frozen next to best. Dried is okay. Also, eat as much as possible fresh and raw. Okay. So we know that raw food is excellent because we tend to reach out all the nutrients that are in the plant. Sprouts are very good. Then reduce oil and fat, including margarine. Margarine, we know it is hydrogenated fat. Actually, it's worse than butter. That's the thing you have to understand. It allows free radicals to be formed. It causes a lot of conditions because it's also saturated fat, meaning it solidifies at room temperature. Okay. It clogs the arteries. It causes what you call hypertension, atherosclerosis, a lot of heart conditions. Then vegetable oils are these also, according to studies, new studies, they tell you saying even vegetable oils, they contribute to what you call hypertension. That's the reason every time they tell you saying you have to reduce in oils. Okay. Because when God decided to give food to Adam in Genesis, he did not add man to eat what you call, to eat margarine and to eat what you call oils. He was to eat the oil in the food. As he was eating legumes or nuts, he was eating the oil in the nut. Okay. And we know for us to generate, to make oils, we get the seeds, the actual seeds. For instance, we can get nuts and extract oil from it. We can get a sunflower or soybeans and extract oil from it, meaning that in the seeds given us by of God, there's oil in it. Okay, so we know that these are what you call are refined. So we have to reduce them. We have to reduce the oil and fat, including margarine and vegetable oils, and things made with them, for us to be in good health, especially canola oil. And we have to be able to what you call read the labels every time. We have to do that. Then use no sugar or aspartame. We know aspartame is very dangerous. It causes what you call dementia or brain conditions because it is able to pass the BB, what do you call the blood brain barrier. It is able to go to the brain, aspartame. It was discovered by accident in the lab. It is very sweet. It is 50 times sweet than sugar, aspartame. Most of the drinks, okay, which they sell, they put aspartame. And aspartame is very dangerous. So we should be able to read the labels. Research about aspartame, you're going to see. It says replace with honey and use this lightly. Okay, so you can replace it with honey or molasses. But the others that are intolerant to honey, those who are intolerant to honey, I've encountered several ones, a lot of them. It causes what you call GERD, or it disturbs the stomach also lining. Others it disturbs you cannot take it. You can take molasses, okay? Or you can use natural sugars like xylitol, stevia. You can use those natural sugars, or you can use what you call the other one, licorice. Licorice is also sweet, okay? Cinnamon is a bit sweet, okay? You can use those. Satisfy sweet tooth, sweet tooth. These are not good. So you satisfy it with what? With fruits such as ripe bananas. Okay, so you can go to fruits to replace these those that eat fruits. I mean these sugar things. Most of the people they prefer sweet things to sort what do you call bitter things. They prefer sweet things. Most of them. So you have to make sure that if you have a child, you should not make a mistake to introduce sweet things to them. You can maybe introduce natural sweet things to them, like fruits. Okay, because if you make a mistake to introduce these sweet things to them, they are going to be refusing to eat fruits. You're going to disturb them. Okay, because the human heart is naturally deceitful and desperately wicked. That's what counsel is telling, and it naturally is attracted to evil. Okay, so they're going to be attracted to evil things. So avoid salt bombs such as cheeses, chips, pretzels, and the party snacks. We have to avoid these ones. Most cheese is extremely high in fat and salt and should be limited. Of course, this salt is bad. We know the salt that they do is the one that is sodium chloride, the one that is half sand, half salt, and there's aluminum when you check the composition of it. Okay, in it. It is not the true salt. It is the one that causes what do you call injuries in the blood vessels. Then the cholesterol goes there to prevent the bleeding in the arteries. Then it triggers what you call blood pressure. These are the ones, the salt, okay, sodium chloride. So use no deep fried foods because when you deep fry, you call a chemical, you produce a chemical called acrylamide. Acrylamide, when you can Google, there's no monopoly of information today. You can know almost everything. When you deep fry, there's a chemical produced acrylamide, and acrylamide is carcinogenic, meaning it causes cancer. So you don't want that in your system. Okay. So don't mix fruits and vegetables at the same meal. This is also in nature. We see a monkey, it does not eat what? It does not eat vegetables, a monkey. It eats fruits, termites, and grains, a monkey. But when you go to animals, herbivorous animals that eat, of course, vegetables, we don't see them eat fruits. Okay. And when you introduce fruits to them, you shorten their lifespan. Okay, that's what happens to them. So this in nature, you learn, you see that we have to do it. We have not to eat a vegetable and a fruit at the same meal. Oftentimes, counsel tells us saying that vegetables should be eaten maybe in the morning and at noon. In the night, eat fruits. I see a lot of documents now today. They say in the morning eat fruits. I see a lot of them. But counsel tells you saying that you should eat fruits in the night, because fruits, it's rare to find fruits, to find protein in fruits. It is rare. Okay. But oftentimes, if you eat a vegetable in the night, most of the vegetables, there's protein in it. And when you eat protein in the night, you know what happens. Okay, there's what you call hydrochloric acid that is going to be produced. Then if you go to sleep, it can affect what you call the oesophagus or oesophageal sphincter muscles. Okay, it's going to affect that. It might also cause hiatus hernia. That's what it might cause. Okay, if every time you eat vegetables or protein in the night, it might cause those. So council tells you to eat fruits in the night. So in short, we have to eat fruits, and we have not to mix fruits and what and vegetables at the same meal. Oftentimes we have to push a fruit to an evening meal. If at all you eat an evening meal, it's going to help you to digest food fast. It's also going to help you to sleep a sound sleep. Okay. Then what you call here again, it says don't mix fruits and vegetables at the same meal. I've already read this one. Avoid, you go back, brother. Avoid hot spices and vinegar. All these, you have to do that. Cook in glass. Of course, there's a reason why glass pots are expensive. Okay, because how valuable it is. Because in glass pots, it's rare that you would mix your food with chemicals that will come from the pot. Then stainless steel is a bit better. Okay. But then enamel is also better, but best is glass pots. Then aluminium, they are the waste pots. They are the waste pots because those studies, you can look at them. Cooking in aluminium pots, because when you cook in aluminium pots, the aluminium is going to go into your soup, into your food. And you'll be eating aluminium every time. And the intake of aluminium in the body, because aluminium is required in the body as a micronutrient in a small, minute form. But if you take it in large form, it's going to cause what you call Alzheimer's disease, forgetfulness. It might also cause cancer. Okay, so that's the reason most of people we forget oftentimes because we eat in aluminium pots. Okay, so better still eat it raw if you can. Get organically grown foods. Then avoid microwaved food or irradiated produced food. A good rule is if it grow, eat it. Eat it in as natural state as possible. The more man does with the food, the less nutritional value it has left when it is finished. That's what man has done to the food. Man has done to beat the food, beat it until the food has lost its value. Okay, can go next now. So we see in the beginning, of course, God created the heaven and the earth. And God decided to form man. And he decided to give him a good diet, a proper diet. We read it, that is Genesis chapter 1, verse 29. Okay. Then after that, we see that when God declared him that he was very good, meaning that he was to be like him and to live longer if he's obedient, that is going to be crowned with immortality eventually if he was to be obedient to God. But what happened to him? He was not obedient. He disobeyed the laws of health. Death came in. Okay, that's what happened. The serpent decided to possess Satan decided to possess a serpent to deceive man. Man decided to disobey because of appetite or intemperance, and he sinned. because of indulgence of appetite, man sinned. Then Satan now became the boss, became the god of this world. He began to control our minds and our being. If a person conquers appetite, he will have the moral power to gain the victory over everything other temptations of Satan, because we know the exit or the exit of man, the door on the entry of sin, we know it is what? It is temperance. Man failed to keep the law of temperance, then sin entered. The only way for you to come back to your natural state, original state, is through the same door. It is temperance. You have to be temperate. So if you are temperate, you can at least able to handle other temptations. In as much as food is a constant temptation right from birth, appetite is a very wonderful training tool. So we should teach our babies, especially mothers. Okay, mothers should be temperate, because when they are pregnant, if they are intemperate, also the child is going to be intemperate. That's what it is. That's what it means. Okay, so training the child to continue to continually exercise is it's correct. Let me, where was I? Is formed and its destiny are destined by the choices it makes. Okay, so we have to do that. Then Genesis 1 verse 29 and 30, we see that given to both man and animals. That was in the beginning. Okay, that's what we see from there. I've already talked about that one. Can go next bottom. Okay, the blood. Before I discuss this one, I think I'll end here. I'll do an hour today, because we have to do in parts. This one is bulk. H laws is bulk. So I'll allow questions and contributions. I've talked a lot. I've talked almost for an hour. Okay, so I'll allow questions and contributions on this particular subject. Okay, we see how bulk it is. Thanks.